So today we're going to be checking out the new 2024 Paul Reed Smith Core 2408. They made a few changes. They sent this out. This is a loaner. This is going back as soon as we're done with this video, but it's a beautiful guitar. So let's talk about it because they didn't change a lot on the new 24 series cores. They all got one significant change, at least what I understand, which is they've changed the tuning keys to these plastic tuning keys that they're basically saying look more like the 12th fret bird. So it's an interesting look. One thing I'll tell you is these tuners feel a little nicer than the other ones, like the way they turn. If you're concerned about durability, I don't know much about them. They look like they're made of the same material as Tusk with a Q, like the material they use for the nut. So it's an interesting change, mostly for the aesthetic. I'd love to know in the comments what you would think about it. I have to be honest, I think I prefer the aluminum ones that they were using before, the metal ones. I don't think it would make me not buy or buy a guitar either way. Of course, my only concern was these could crack over time, like old tuners do. And you know, that's what you're taking a chance on. Okay, so the big change on this particular model, if you haven't caught it already, is that the 2408 now comes, and this is the core, comes with the TCI, the Paul's pickups. These are the pickups from Paul's guitar. And what's interesting about that for me, which is why when they reached out and said, did you want to check out any of the new 24s? I said, absolutely this one, because if you go through my catalog of videos on PRS guitars, you'll know that one of my favorite sounding guitars is Paul's guitar. But one of my favorite playing guitars is a guitar that was built for me by my buddy Nathan at the PRS factory, and it has the pattern thin neck, and of course my Mira has a pattern thin neck. So I prefer the pattern thin neck, although I like pattern regular as well. I don't have a don't like or like thing with the necks. I just prefer this one a lot of times, you know, more. I prefer it more. So to me, like, this is a perfect world. Getting the Paul's pickups and this neck, it seemed pretty cool. I've reviewed now officially the S2 2408, the SE 2408, and now Core 2408. If you're not familiar with what the 2408 is, it's a 24 fret custom 24 guitar, but it has switches. And what the switches do is simple. These are the humbuckers, and three-way switch does exactly what you think. Humbucker, both humbuckers, neck humbucker. But these little two mini switches right here, what they do, this one's up, this is now a single coil, and this one's up, that's a single coil. So of course now you'd have single coil, dual single coils, or single coil in the neck. And of course if you put this down, go to the middle, single coil humbucker, you swap them the other way around, now it's going to be single coil humbucker. You get the idea. You get a lot of combinations. You got a volume and tone, no push-pull. This has the version 3 bridge, is what they said, which has the brass saddles. And you can see where they threaded the screws on the saddles. You can see the brass. Another thing that's not new for 2024, but I've noticed on the last few guitars I received, the strap buttons have changed. They're still those big discs, but the old strap buttons used to be string retainers from a bass. So these ones look like they're specifically made for PRS now. This is also going to be a nitrocellulose lacquer finish. So they switched to nitro finishes officially, I think, in July of 2020 when the employees came back from the COVID hiatus. I believe everything then switched immediately, or therefore forward. Every core model is nitro, and previous to that there are some models that were and some models that weren't. The keys are locking with brass shafts, and then of course you have 24 nickel silver frets. And then if you don't know this trick, when you're looking at a Paul Reed Smith guitar, if you see an owl, which will always be on the 24th fret, that's how you know it's a 24 fret PRS. And if the last bird isn't an owl, then you know you're looking at a 22 fret. It's a quick little thing you can do when you're scanning. If you're looking on a stage somewhere and you see somebody with a PRS, look for that owl. And you'll see if it has 24 frets. All right, let's do some geeky stuff. Okay, this guitar weighed in at about just a little over 8 pounds, about 8.1 pounds. So not necessarily light, but not super heavy. And let's check a few things. Let's see what they did. Okay, so the first thing we want to check is how it came set up. So this was sent to me, obviously from PRS, and I would imagine it was set up pretty well. But normally they set the action relatively high, in my opinion. This one is actually pretty low. This is 1.5 millimeters, or for those of you that like it this way, 0.06. And that's pretty low for them. Usually they come in about 2 millimeters off the 12th fret. So the guitar is just a little lower than normal. And of course, we're going to do a sock test. because we're going to see how they did the fret ends. Now, generally speaking, PRS always does really good fret treatment, so I can't imagine this won't do super well. Let's go ahead and do this. And I'm going to run it this way. And you can see right there, that's absolutely perfect. I don't have to change the sock side for the other side. Let's do the other side. There you go as well. Perfect. Another thing we like to check is how the bridge feels to see if there's any corners or rough spots, screws sticking out. And you can see this is flawless again. And that's because the screws are recessed and the edges are rounded. Even that sharp corner right there, you can see it's not causing any issues. If you don't like it when bridges poke your hand, this is going to be good for you. Let's go ahead and check these frets. And I'm going to check a couple of them just to make sure. And it looks like the frets are coming in at 0.036. or 0.91 millimeters, which is a medium jumbo fret. For those of you that love the measurements, the nut, we are sitting at 43.3 millimeters or 1.694. At the 12th fret, we are 2.052 or we are sitting at 52.12 millimeters. And measuring the neck at the first fret, we have 20.91 millimeters or 0.823, and on the 12th fret we have 0.923 or 23.44 millimeters. We're going to go ahead and check to see how straight the neck is. Let's go ahead pushing down on the 24th fret and on the first fret like this, using our finger to tap on it. We have a little play, so there's a little bit of relief. Something I've noticed with all Paul Reed Smith guitars, there's always just a little teeny relief in the neck. So it's obviously something that they want that way. Let's go ahead and check for dead spots. Okay, no dead spots, plays great. So I would say if this is how it comes in out of the box to you guys, this is a perfect out of the box, ready to play guitar. Here's a fun test I like to do. I like to just hold the neck where the body and the neck meets the heel joint and call it the handshake to see how it feels. And it's not a modern, smooth feel. It does have kind of a clunkiness to it. You know, it is a traditional joint that they started with. So looking at the finish and the top of the guitar, you have to keep in mind this was a demo model sent to me for review. This black spot here is really horrible. You know, I'd be pretty bummed out if I paid a lot of money and got this as a finish. But again, I don't know if this is just a defect and this is what they're sending out as a loaner. But overall, the color is cool. And other than that spot, I think the finish looks great. And back onto some other positives, this has a nice rolled fretboard edge. So with all that beautiful fretwork, a broken in kind of feel to the edge of the fretboard, this guitar feels great when you're playing it. The back control cavities are recessed. We have a one-piece mahogany neck. Now they're going to call this one piece, but keep in mind, it is technically 3 pieces because it's one piece here. So it starts with a 2-inch block this way and a 2-inch block this way. So one piece, but because it's a 2-inch block, the little wings here on the headstock, these little pieces are glued on. So it is technically a 3-piece, but it's confusing to people. If you say 3-piece, they're gonna think 3 pieces down the center. So that's why they're calling it a one piece, but with the 2 glued on wings. You have a 1-piece mahogany body, a 1/2-inch to 1/4-inch maple cap, and then of course you have a rosewood fretboard. Okay. Okay, copper shielded cavity right there. Very nice. Okay, so looking in here. So of course we have the 3-way switch. We have 2 low to no friction, I'm gonna say no friction potentiometers. You've got 500K pot in the volume pot, 500K in the tone pot. You have your capacitor here for your tone control. And then you have a treble bleed. This is a Paul Reed Smith standard thing. They like to do the treble bleed. And then of course you have the 2 coil split switches right here, and pretty straightforward. Now, a lot of people talk about their coil splitting. Some people love the way that they do it. Some people don't like the way they do it. Me particularly, I don't have a preference of it over a different brand of any kind of other way of doing it. This tremolo is a steel plate with brass saddles and a brass block. So it has the oversized brass block, as you can see right there. So this is a solid piece of brass, and then of course you have the 4 springs. This is the ground wire, and following that ground wire we're going to check to see that the cavity is insulated and it has shielding paint in it. We want to look at these pickups to see where they're rating at. The bridge is coming in at 8.19K. Let's go to the neck pickup. It's coming in at 6.12K. If we coil split that, that drops that to 4.38K. And if we go to the bridge and we split that, that's going to 5.52K. So pretty cool right there. What's something to take notice, let me go back to that neck pickup. Something to take notice is the pickups are not dropping by half, which is important because, you know, that makes them really weak and the single wheels don't sound very full. So there you go. Let's go ahead and look at the inductance for those that want that reading. We're going to look at the humbucker in the bridge as 5.34 and the neck at 4.27. There's your numbers for us geeks. Something else to point out that's interesting is that there is copper tape here, right here on the cavity. So that's obviously making contact with this foiled piece right here. Then the strip goes down and it goes underneath the volume control. And it's making a connection with that shielding paint, which is pretty cool. So what does this guitar cost? Well, first, did you notice that on the Sweetwater picture, it's the same guitar they sent me. It's got that little black spot in the corner. Obviously, this is the promotion guitar. This guitar is sitting at $4,600, which is important to note. That is the exact same price they were in 2023. So as of filming this video, there is no price increase for 2024. And I'm sure we can imagine why. The prices are pretty much at the height of what they can possibly be. All of that doesn't matter unless the guitar doesn't play or sound good. Let's go ahead and go in the other room and play it and see how it plays and sounds. All right, so for sound samples, I'm gonna run through a Bad Cat Jet Black into a 112 cabinet with a creamback Celestion speaker, mic'd up with an SM57 into an 88M Neves interface. We're gonna start with a neck pickup with no coil split, so that's full humbucker. Here we go. Okay, let's go ahead and go to coil split, same riff. You know, it's these Paul's pickups. I've always really liked the way they sound in coil split. It could be, I think it has a lot more to do with their field. You know, these are kind of like a narrow field. They're about the size of P90s. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. This is a dangerous thing or a scary thing that Paul Reed Smith Guitars is doing because, you know, back in the day, companies like PV especially and other companies would make their own pickups in their own wacky shapes that wouldn't work with anything else. So this is one of these guitars now that if you love the way this sounds, great. But if you don't love these pickups, I mean, there's really not a whole ways to go. Like I said, maybe you could put in some mini humbuckers or you'd have to route this thing to put in full humbuckers and it could be a scary proposition. Let's go to the bridge. Start with a clean sound. Now this is going to be both coil split pickups. Okay, 2 humbuckers. A little bit of breakup. Okay, now what I want to do, let's check the tone control. Okay, let's go ahead and switch the amp over. We're going to start with the bridge pickup. You know, just playing it right now, I can hear what it is I'm hearing. These sound like noiseless P90s. They are, that's what they are. They're just noiseless P90s. It's got that so much mid. On those low strings, it just feels good. It's got very percussive. Okay, go to the neck pickup. Yeah, and that coil split. It's really great, clean. Cleans up so nice. Let's go to that bridge pickup. Let's clean it up too. Okay, let's see if it stays in tune. Yeah, stays in tune fine. Middle position, two single coils. Two humbuckers. I mean, it's really good. It's got this mid percussive thing that I dig. To me, it sounds pretty much like Paul's guitar. It's got that very mid defined sound where it doesn't feel too in the high frequencies, it doesn't feel too muddy in the low frequencies. Really nice. Definitely doesn't fit, in my opinion, the heavy metal sound very much, but definitely the rock, soft rock genre, blues. I mean, listen to that single coil. Clean that up. So, what are my final thoughts on the new Custom 2408 2024 edition? I'm not in love with the plastic tuning keys. When I say I'm not in love with it, there's nothing about them that makes me think the guitar is better for them being here. If they ship these guitars with plastic tuning keys, heads, or the aluminum top ones, I would go aluminum every time. But again, some of you may just really love this new look. I love the Paul's guitars in the 2408. I think that's amazing. And I hope they update the other 2408s eventually with something like this. This would be really cool in the other series down below. Of course, Paul Reed Smith Guitars, since the very beginning, has been known for this amazing fretwork. I mean, there's a few guitar companies out there that have always been known for these over-the-top, amazing playing instruments. And whether you like or the way they look or you like the way they sound, the way they play has always been fantastic. All right, guys, as always, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Till the next time, know your gear.